This encounter comes in from Eddy County, New Mexico, and the poster wishes to remain anonymous, so we're going to call her Kristen. Kristen was raised in the deserts southeast of New Mexico on 2 different ranches. She and her family always lived on very remote ranches, 50, sometimes 75 miles away from the nearest real town. She used to track semi-professionally for hunters and the local trapper, so she is very well versed in the flora and fauna of their beautiful state. She knows the critters of New Mexico. And Kristen's story starts in April of 1999. She and her boyfriend were rooming with a couple in a trailer just outside of Lakewood, New Mexico. And for a few weeks that April, a lot of the neighboring landowners were complaining about wild dogs coming up from the river and harassing their dogs and scaring their livestock. And where Kristen was living was about a mile from the Pecos River. And wild dogs were a real problem in the area. One guy had even reported some structural damage to one of his chicken coops. The couple that Kristen lived with had 2 dogs. They were medium-sized terrier mixes, and neither one of them were on the cowardly side. But they'd been getting very, very skittish about leaving the trailer at night. So much so that they had to make sure that they let the dogs out right before sunset, and then again right after sunrise, because the dogs wouldn't leave the trailer when it was dark. And one Saturday night, about 11 p.m., when the 4 of them were just sitting around watching TV and talking about stuff, the dogs, who were asleep in the master bedroom on the east side of the trailer, started growling and barking at the window on the south wall of the room. And this is really odd behavior for them. So everybody got up from the living room and went to the bedroom to find out what the ruckus was all about. And by the time they get there, the dogs seem to have shifted the focus of their barking from the window to along that whole south wall of the bedroom. It's like they can smell that something is there outside and it's moving. So they're moving with it. And when they get to the edge of the bedroom, they just go nuts. And suddenly, from farther down the hall, where the kitchen is, they all hear this super loud thump and scuffling noises. It's powerful enough that they actually feel it move the trailer. And the dogs at this point just completely lose it. They cry out in this high-pitched whine and just dive under the bed. And everyone runs out of the bedroom, down the hall, and into the kitchen to see what the hell's going on. And trying to look out the kitchen window is pointless. It's late, there's cloud cover, and the moon isn't even out that night. And they hear that scuffling noise again. And confused, they all kind of wander toward the living room to see if they could figure out where these sounds are coming from. And Kristen says what happened next seemed like it happened in slow motion. Appearing in the living room window and looking right on in at them was, she doesn't even know what. From the shoulders up is what she can only describe as a man dog. The shoulders are quite human with short, sleek hair, but it has the head of what looks to be a Rottweiler. And the teeth, holy crap, the teeth on this thing. All 4 of them scream at the same time. And Kristen guesses it scared it off because it disappeared. But that image will forever be seared in her head. And remember, this is a trailer house, so the bottom of that living room window is at least 6 feet off the ground, making whatever was looking in the window at least 7 feet tall. No dog or wolf is big enough to stand up and look at him that way through the window. And the guys, being guys, immediately grab their shotguns and head out the door, even though Kristen tells them that's a bad idea. Super dark night? Big unknown critter? Nope. But they're out there for some 20 minutes or so looking for this thing until they come back inside saying they couldn't find anything. The light coming from the living room window and shining on its face because it was so close to that window is the only reason they saw it to begin with. None of them really sleep well that night. The next morning, Kristen decides to get up early and go outside and see if she can find any tracks outside that might help them figure out what that thing was. The grass and the weeds that are growing up right next to the house pretty much hide any tracks that it would have made there. But she does discover claw marks on the side of the trailer toward the bottom. And she figures that's probably what made those thumping and scuffling sounds the night before. She then decides to follow the tracks that the guys made, which is when she makes a second, very unnerving discovery. The guys had made clear tracks in the sandy dirt, and whatever was out there did as well. The other tracks were huge, canine, and switched back and forth from 4 legs to 2, meaning that at least part of the time it was walking bipedally. And by following those tracks, she could see that whatever it was pretty much circling the guys the entire time they were out there.